Hey guys! So I know I haven't posted a video in quite a while. It's been a crazy last few months, and I think the main reason was that I was trying to upload the footage from my camera onto my laptop, and it was always telling me when I started editing the footage that part of the footage was missing or the camera was missing. So I'm going to deal with that. That's why the camera is a little bit worse. I'm actually using my MacBook photo booth video webcam. So I'm sorry if the camera is not that great or I'm not able to edit it. So I'm filming it as if I wouldn't edit. But it actually kind of works because this is more of a chatty video. It's not going to be about beauty today. As most of you know, I am a mom, and I'm a mom of an almost 2-year-old. She's a toddler, and I wanted to share my story, my breastfeeding story, as well as how and why I stopped breastfeeding. When I tried to research it, I found a few helpful links, but I know that there's a lot of moms out there who just feel a lot of pressure from society and from the world to not breastfeed or to only breastfeed in certain places or to only breastfeed for a certain duration of time. And I guess I wanted to kind of talk about that and just my personal thoughts and experience on it as well. So if you're normally here for beauty, beauty's coming back, but this one is just dedicated for the moms or to-be moms or anyone who's interested in hearing my experience. So if you're not interested, that's totally okay. More beauty videos are going to come. And yeah, so feel free to exit out if you want to. But for the ones who are interested in my breastfeeding story, why don't we get started? So I want to start from the very beginning, when I was pregnant and I learned about breastfeeding. So when I first learned about breastfeeding, I was taking a parenting class with Alaska's dad, and I was maybe 9 months pregnant or so, and it was held at a local city resource center, and it was very informative. We talked about it, we had discussions about it, we had like Q&A, we even had like little discussion groups afterwards about it, and we watched a video about it, about what breastfeeding does and how beneficial it is for your baby, and just kind of all of the questions and answers and thoughts and everything about breastfeeding, all the informational technical stuff. So pretty much your breasts it can start to develop milk while you're pregnant, meaning you can kind of leak while you're pregnant, which can be normal. I didn't. The first milk that comes out isn't actually breast milk. I believe it's called colostrum. I can be completely wrong, but it's a type of fluid that is it's like before your milk supply comes. And since your child, when the baby is born, your newborn baby, the stomach is the size of a marble, so that's enough to fill it up. So when I gave birth to Alaska, I gave birth to her on July 4th. As soon as she was born, I had milk. I didn't even know I had milk. I wasn't leaking throughout my pregnancy, and I was able to feed her. The nurses helped me to latch. I didn't do a great amount of research, but I did know enough to where I knew I wanted to breastfeed. I knew my goal was to breastfeed for 1 year, at least 1 year. And I knew that I wanted to be able to give her the best nutrition that I could. Not that I look down on mothers who give formula or anything like that. It was just a personal choice. And I felt like it was cost efficient and it was easy. I didn't think about those things too much until I started actually breastfeeding her. So as soon as she was born, the nurses helped me to latch, and she didn't have a problem latching. And later, the only problem was that she was latching incorrectly. So she was able to latch, but she was doing it in a way that was really painful for me. And you new moms, you know that your breasts, especially your nipples, are extremely, like, they're in so much pain the first few weeks after you give birth, on top of bleeding and being sore and having to recover from the actual birth. Or if you had a C-section, you have to, make sure you don't touch the incision wound or anything like that. There's just so much, and just make sure you're getting a lot of rest those first few weeks. Your body definitely needs it. So for me, breastfeeding was really easy because I was able to lie down and nurse her. I was able to sit up and nurse her and hold her in my arms. It was pretty, I wouldn't say it was easy. There's definitely a learning curve that comes with breastfeeding, but as far as Alaska goes, I have my only experience is with Alaska. I'd say she did really well. I think most babies, even other moms I've talked to, as soon as they gave birth, their mouth was kind of suckling and looking for the nipple and looking for milk. So those are some of the feeding cues, is they start doing like sucking motions with their mouth, or they start like smacking their lips like they're hungry. It's pretty obvious when a little baby is hungry, and if you have good nurses and a good team, they'll definitely really help you. I had a great team. I went to Washington Hospital in Fremont, and they did a really, really great job. I really enjoyed all of the care that I got while I was there. So breastfeeding started out painful for me physically, which was normal. And there was that one latching issue, but over time she got used to it. And she would nurse when she was little, maybe 10 to 12 times a day, which was normal for her. And as she grew older, less and less. She did have jaundice for a few weeks, and the doctor actually recommended me to stop breastfeeding because some of the hormones or something in there might have triggered the jaundice. But when the jaundice completely cleared away, I was able to breastfeed her again. I really enjoyed breastfeeding because it was a bonding moment between me and her. I'm like getting emotional. It was really comforting for both her and me. And when I took her to go get her shots at the doctor's, I would breastfeed her right afterwards to help her stop crying. And I think after a while, she got used to the notion that breastfeeding was a comfort for her. So when she would fall down and hurt herself, or when she would bump her head, she would come over to me to nurse. And after a while, it just became she became really dependent on my milk. She wanted to nurse all the time. When I was out in the restaurant, she would be pulling at my shirt even though I had just fed her. And she wouldn't eat solid foods because her appetite was so reliant on my milk. And she would wake up throughout the night. I would nurse her tonight every single night. And she would wake up all throughout the night just looking for my milk if she was hungry. So Alaska right now, she's almost 2. She's 2 in July, and I weaned her a week ago. So that's why I decided to wean her off, was because I felt like she was just so dependent on my milk, and she wasn't eating enough solid foods and relying on my milk. And I feel like it was time to kind of set a boundary for her, because I want to be able to set boundaries with Alaska so she can set boundaries for herself in the future. And I feel like my goal was a year, and I was really happy to have made it to a year. But now it was becoming more of a hassle, and she has all the nutrients she needs. So that was my personal decision to stop. Just make sure that if you're thinking of stopping, that you're doing it not because someone's pressuring you or telling you you have to, or you feel like you're getting criticism, or you're being hard on yourself or anything like that. If you really feel like it's becoming a hassle, or your child doesn't need it as much anymore because he or she is growing older, just ask yourself those questions. And if you're thinking of stopping, just make a plan. So this is how I plan to do it. I cut her down to only morning, afternoon-ish, her nap time, and then nighttime. Those were the only 3 times that I would feed her. And this sounds really easy, but I tried to do this for months and I just couldn't. She would just whine and whine and whine, and sometimes she would throw herself on the floor when I said no, and then I would just give in and feed her. And I know that wasn't the best thing to do, but that's what I did, and that's what many moms do. And by doing that, I was teaching her that she could still whine and get whatever she wanted, and I wasn't ever really weaning her off. I was just kind of going back and forth and back and forth, and it wasn't fun for either one of us, but it also wasn't easy for me. So that's why it took so long. I tried to stop maybe 6 months ago. I tried to stop 3 months ago, and I just kept giving back into her and not really sticking with my boundaries. So this time I was really serious about it. Me and her dad set up a plan, and he was going to take her for the weekend, 2 nights, Friday and Saturday. And from Monday to Friday, I cut her down only to the nighttime feed. So the only time she would feed was at night to go to bed. So in the morning, when she would start pulling at my shirt, I would just pick her up and say, okay, let's go get started for the day. What do you want to eat? And I would just like take her out of the bedroom and just get her distracted. I feel like that's easiest, to distract her from the morning and afternoon feeds, because you can go out and run errands and do groceries. Everyone's schedule is different, so you would kind of have to tailor it to your schedule. If you're working or if you have school, I have work and school, but I am a stay-at-home worker, so I'm able to work at home. But I do go to school throughout the day, so I left her at the babysitter's for the few hours I'm at school. And at that time, I asked them to just give her apple juice or water in a sippy cup, or an actual cup. And she doesn't think about my milk when she's not with me. So I was able to just kind of wean her slowly, slowly, slowly until she was only nursing at night. And then Thursday night, I said, okay, I'm not going to feed her at all. And I expected the worst. I laid down like blankets all over the floor in case I needed to close the door and let her kind of cry it out, which was some advice that I had gotten from other moms, that they would just let their babies cry and cry for hours and let them self-soothe. And I was thinking that that would have to be my last resort. And I was thinking, oh my goodness, how am I going to do it? And they were sharing how difficult it was for them. And I really was expecting I would have to do that. But the night actually went swimmingly, to put it in simple words. I think that Alaska in her head knew that it was time to stop. And I read some articles about another mom who was teaching her son, who was like 2.5, also a little bit older than Alaska, that her milk, once he turned into a big boy, her milk was now yucky. And she would put, there was a certain ointment or something that doesn't taste good but isn't harmful for children, that she would put on her breasts. And when he would try to nurse, it would taste just disgusting, and he would back off. I think it was called THUM, something like that. I haven't used that. My mom and grandma actually recommended me use some Chinese oil that isn't harmful for her, and I just didn't really like the idea of that. I was going to do it if she was going to keep persisting, but I didn't even get there. So at night, I decided to replace breastfeeding with a quiet reading time instead. And so we sat down, turned off the lights, and we prayed. We pray at night. And we just read a little story, and I just tried to kind of wind her down, calm her down, turn off most of the lights, and just kind of get her into a sleepy mode. And then I just laid her down, and when she looked to my shirt and turned to me to nurse, I just said, "No, you're not going to nurse anymore." And that's when she started screaming and crying. And I was like, oh my goodness, this is going to go on for hours. And I was like, I'm going to be up all night. I'm not going to get any sleep. And she tossed and turned and screamed. And it was like the world was coming to an end. And I thought it was going to go on for so long. It went on about 5 to 7 minutes. And she eventually laid down on me. And I just rubbed her back. Some kids like to be patted on their back or on their bottom. And I just rubbed her, because I feel like that was what got her to soothe down and calm down the most. So I just kept rubbing her, and I had like a white noise machine in the background, and I just let that play, and within a few minutes she had just fallen asleep on her own. And that was the hardest part for me, because she was asleep and she didn't need me anymore, and we had such an emotional connection and bond through breastfeeding that I felt like, oh my goodness, it's over, that I'm not going to breastfeed her anymore. And I just felt like a real mom, when I could breastfeed her, and it was the only thing only I could do it. No one else could do it. She would always turn to me for it. So it was an emotional night for me. I cried for a little while, and other mothers might respond differently to it. But I was upset for a little bit, but the next morning I was like, oh my goodness, I am free. I'm free. I can, do the things that I need to do without her clawing at my shirt. I don't have to worry about leaking when I'm out. I don't have to wear nursing bras, which I don't really wear them anymore anyway. But there are so many things that I can do, and she now knows that she's a big girl and I don't have to worry about the hassle anymore. So it feels really good, but initially I was really upset about it. So different emotions might come up. Just be aware of that and just know that it's normal and it's okay, and it's just part of being a mom and taking care of a child that you have an emotional connection with. So the next night, her dad took her, and he said that she did great. He fed her more throughout the day because she would have a bigger appetite, especially for fluids. So he gave her apple juice and lots of water and just made sure that her appetite was full. And then he put her to sleep the same way that I did, which is how he normally puts her to sleep if he's taking her and trying to put her down for a nap. But she had never spent the night with anyone other than me, including him. So he just pat her back and she fell asleep. He said that she woke up a few times throughout the night and tossed and turned, but he just rocked her and just pat her back and she went back to sleep. Second night, he said that she woke up less. And then when I got her back on Sunday, I said, no milk. And she cried a little bit, but she continued to just, cry, and then lay her head on me. And I would pat her back and she would go to sleep. And she woke up a few times that night and I put her back to sleep. And the next few nights after that, she just woke up less and less. And there was one night where she woke up at 4 in the morning and she was screaming. I thought she was in pain. And she pulls me out of bed and she goes, Mama, num, 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 num. She was hungry. And I guess it kind of slipped my mind that or I wasn't used to it. I was still kind of getting used to it, that she has a bigger appetite now that she's not nursing, and she needs to be eating so much more, because she would wake up throughout the night and just, look for my nipple and nurse again, and she couldn't do that. And I was, I was so upset, and there I was 5 in the morning in the kitchen making ravioli for her. I made a whole plate for her, and she didn't even eat any of it because I think she was just so upset. So I felt really, really bad. But since that night, I've been making full meals for her dinner. So she'll have big meals, breakfast, lunch, and dinner. And then if she needs a snack or she needs to drink milk or water before bed, I'll make sure that she's just really full. And since then, she's been sleeping all throughout the night. She doesn't even wake up throughout the night anymore. So it's been 8 or 9 days since she has been completely free of breast milk, and each night just gets better. So yeah, that's kind of my experience with it. Every child is going to be different though. I just wanted to kind of share my experience. Some kids might scream and cry all night for several nights in a row. Some might wean themselves off breast milk. And just stop asking for it, or ask for it less and less. So it really just depends on the child. And as a mom, you know what's best for your child. So just trust your gut, and do what makes you feel most comfortable. Most of the time, what's best for you is what's best for your child. So just ask yourself those things and just make sure to take care of yourself while you're doing all of this, and ask for support and help if you need it. And if you ever want to talk, if anyone ever wants to talk about any mommy things or advice or for support or just to vent or rant or anything like that, I'm always here. I'll leave my links and contact information down below. But yeah, I really just wanted to share my personal experience, because I know that there's a lot of controversy about breastfeeding in public and how long you should breastfeed, and people who are critical about women or mothers who breastfeed their children up to 3 or 4 years old. And I just say, do what you feel makes you feel most comfortable. So if you feel like it's best for your child to breastfeed at 3, or you need to breastfeed in public because your child is hungry, just do what's best for your child and do what's best for you. That's the most important thing. And if other people don't get it, it's not really about them anyway. It's about being a mom and taking care of your child. So not everyone is going to agree with that, and not everyone is going to be completely on board with that. but it's okay because at the end of the day, you know what's best for your kid, and it's not about pleasing everybody else. It's about doing what's best as a mom. So I think that's something that I've come to realize, and I think that it can be sometimes difficult because there's so much criticism when it comes to parenting, especially for moms, the different things that moms do, and just highlighting and pinpointing all of the terrible things versus trying to be encouraging and uplifting. So if I can just be a voice of encouragement and inspiration and help to other moms out there who may be struggling with postpartum depression or just being a new mom or being a young mom. I mean, I had Alaska when I was 19. I found out I was pregnant at 18. So it's definitely been a very difficult road. So if you want me to share more about my story, my experience, and everything that's gone on the past several years, feel free to let me know. So I'm really, really open. I would love to talk to anybody. So yeah, just reach out to me if you need to. And I really hope that this video was helpful to you guys. Let me know if you want more videos on anything like my labor and delivery or my pregnancy or anything like that. Okay, thank you so much for tuning in. I'll catch you guys later.